Suppose that the same man who had been investing more than a decade warring for one woman, leaving just about everyone else behind in the process, suddenly put the blame on her for the loss of his entire universe? That's what supposedly transpired behind the scenes, in a situation Kody Brown never thought would see the light of day. The same guy who once called Robyn his soulmate, the be-all and end-all of his life, the woman he legally married after spiritually divorcing Mary, now has the nerve to claim she manipulated him personally into bankruptcy. And the most shocking part? This isn't all about money. It's about control, betrayal, and the emotional game Kody played over many years to keep everyone else guessing. For over a decade, we've watched him push Mary, Janelle, and Christine to the side, while Robyn slowly but relentlessly rose to the top of the family hierarchy. Kody told the world it was not favoritism, it was love. But today, behind closed doors, he's singing a very different tune. Hey guys, I'm Anya, and welcome back to Reality Recap. If you ever got the sense something just didn't quite add up with the Brown family's money, today's story may just confirm what all of us knew to be true all along. Don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe if you're new here, and leave your thoughts in the comments. Because what we're exploring today is nasty, sad, and long, long overdue. Kody accuses Robyn. But was she mastermind or just his alibi? For years, Kody Brown and Robyn had a very strict script. All the wives handled their own finances. That was the arrangement, wasn't it? No shared accounts, no overlap of money, each wife on her own, and Kody and I somewhere in between, above the dollar signs. It was the hands-off endgame. We're all financially independent, and I don't interfere. But the fans picked up on things that weren't quite right. Cracks started to appear when Mary dropped a colossal bombshell in the tell-all. She had to use her own accountant, an outside financial advisor, just to demonstrate to Kody and Robyn that she'd been contributing her fair share of the family finances. Let that sink in. A woman who'd been a part of the Brown family since day one was treated like a stranger, forced to bring out receipts just to legitimize her position. If finances were truly separate, why on earth was she even being questioned? Kody's response? He brushed it off, claimed he was baffled, that he just needed clarity. But Mary wasn't buying it. She had an inkling what was really on the agenda. It was not about clarity. It was about control. Kody and Robyn weren't playing straight shooters. They shifted the goalposts depending on which wife they were negotiating with. And Robyn? She simply sat there, quietly nodding, sometimes crying, but always standing up for Kody. She's always said she doesn't meddle in the other wives' business, that she stays out of it. But when it was a matter of Mary's interrogation about money, Robyn was smack dab in the middle, questioning, judging. So which is it? Are you hands-off or the family's money guardian? You can't have it both ways. That was when the whole everyone is responsible for their own money fiction started to unravel. It grew harder to swallow, especially when it was only some of the wives who were asked to account for their money. Robyn? Her accountant was never asked to account for what she brought in. If this was not about holding people to some measure of transparency, where was Robyn's accountant? Why wasn't she held to that measure? What the public saw was not freedom from money. It was favoritism disguised as fairness. And eventually, that illusion started to break down. Kody Brown didn't need spreadsheets or budgets to keep tabs on the money. He used something far more effective: confusion. Nicely crafted, battle-hardened confusion. And it worked. For years, he made sure that no one had the full picture, always implying the wives used their own money, while carefully obscuring the lines enough to keep the power for himself. This wasn't about money, it was about control. Keeping the wives in suspense, out of whack, and not knowing where the money was being spent, or who was contributing how much. One of his biggest targets here? Janelle. Kody has repeatedly tried to shift the blame for the financial chaos within the family onto her, both behind the scenes and in front of cameras. He's made her out to be irresponsible, as someone who didn't plan ahead properly, like she's responsible for all that went wrong. If you've been following Sister Wives since the beginning, you recognize what's real. Janelle filled the void. She was the first to work full-time, the first to have steady income. She didn't just contribute. She kept the family financially afloat. In difficult times, she made sacrifices, lived in RVs, and actually made sacrifices. And what did she receive in return? Blame. Kody's scapegoating of Janelle wasn't just unjust, it was deliberate. The more he demonized her as emotional or hard to get along with, the fewer individuals spent time examining where the money really went. And nowhere was this more embarrassingly apparent than in the Coyote Pass land debacle. That house was supposed to be the family's future, a shared investment, a family dream, a location where all of them would build and thrive. But Kody used it as his own, while Janelle just barely got the smallest share to build a tiny house on her lot. And in the meantime, Kody and Robyn stood still in their big, fully equipped house, snugly settled, not hurt by the struggle. Each time Janelle would inquire about tapping into family resources to finance her build, Kody would stall. He'd deflect the topic, make excuses, change the subject. It was clear. Family money went only in one direction, and it wasn't toward Janelle, Mary, or Christine. So when Kody talked about financial independence, what he actually meant was consolidated power. He and Robyn held the purse strings. Everyone else? They got pushback, roadblocks, and justifications. And when those didn't work anymore, Kody turned to blame. Suddenly it was Janelle's fault, or Mary's, or Christine's, anyone's fault but his own. Kody adored being baffled. That cloud of half-truths and sanctimonious evasions left the complete truth out of reach. And Robyn? Don't be taken in by the soft voice and tearful gaze. She can be the most innocuous-looking woman in the room, particularly at the tell-alls, sitting quietly, speaking softly, as if she's just trying to hold it together while everybody else around her is falling apart. But behind that poised facade is somebody who knows what's happening. Robyn often claims she doesn't meddle in the other wives' business, that she honors boundaries, that she's out of the loop. But we've seen her, right there, front and center, sitting in judgment when Mary had to bring in an accountant just to prove she was contributing. If Robyn truly stayed out of it, what was she doing in that financial meeting to begin with? The truth is, Robyn is a winner, quietly. She needn't argue or insist. The system is rigged in her favor already. She gets to stay cozy, with full access to family resources and Kody's steadfast emotional devotion. But when it's time to show her own investment of money, crickets. Kody, on the other hand, is the exact opposite. He doesn't shut up. He detonates, blaring, over the top, always the victimized party who's been wronged. And when he doesn't receive his desired outcome, he flips it around. On him. Now he's the victim of assault, for loving Robyn too much. Love becomes anvil. He shrieks, he whines, he spirals, and it always, somehow, becomes about him. One of the clearest examples? That therapy session with Mary. The counselor gently pushed him to reflect, and Kody snapped, "I'm not open to criticism." That's not just defensive. That's narcissism. Therapy is meant to promote growth, accountability, and honest self-reflection. But Kody walked in expecting praise, not progress. And Robyn? She simply sat there, nodding in silence, and allowing it to occur. Her silence was not about keeping the peace, it was about keeping power. But that one instance which shattered the illusion, Garrison's memorial, it was raw. It was heartbreaking. And it told so much more than everyone expected. Kody and Robyn tried to rewrite history, claiming they were kicked out for no reason other than they were a little affectionate. They held hands. They hugged. That is what they want others to believe, but whoever was listening, they know better. The children weren't angry at a hug. They were angry because Kody all of a sudden hijacked center stage in his grief, when he hadn't even been in Garrison's life. Garrison had been begging for a relationship with his dad, and Kody didn't show up until it was far too late. And then, at the memorial, rather than paying respects to the memory of his son, Kody turned it into a circus, a show, a campaign for sympathy votes. And the worst part of all? Gossip that Kody and Robyn were in line to receive half of Garrison's life insurance policy. That was the line that had to be respected. Janelle was the sole beneficiary, and deservedly so. She was there. She raised him. And the fact that Kody would even have the nerve to question that, and after everything, was an insult to everybody who had ever loved Garrison for what he was. This wasn't about love. It was about duty. And finally, the silence began to break. Mary and Janelle, two wives who had silently endured Kody's alphaism for years, started asking the tough questions. Mary was cautious, and honestly, who could blame her? Janelle had endured Kody for so long, even when it was clear things were one-sided and unfair. So when Janelle suddenly wanted to team up, Mary wasn't jumping at the opportunity with arms wide open. She required proof. She needed to be certain this wasn't another setup. Their history was messy. Let's not forget, Mary gave up her legal marriage so Kody could marry Robyn for the sake of the kids. But that decision broke more than legal bonds. It redefined the entire family equation and made it horribly clear where Kody's priorities lay. Then there was Janelle's turning point. She had sacrificed everything to keep the family going. Real money, real time, real effort, and was informed there wasn't anything left for her to construct her own home. That was the final straw. That's when she understood it. Kody wasn't leading, he was gatekeeping, and he wasn't even trying to hide it anymore. As Mary and Janelle started to really talk about money, about properties, about all the promises broken, Kody's carefully constructed facade started to fall apart. Because once the wives started comparing notes, the truth couldn't be kept from them anymore. And then arrived the shocking twist no one was expecting, not even the most loyal fans. After all these years of battling for Robyn with every last thing he's got, after tossing every other wife to the wolves for her, Kody now quietly blames her. He's allegedly declared that Robyn had manipulated him, that the financial catastrophe, the ravaged relationships, the alienation from his own family, was all somehow her fault. The irony is almost too much. This is the same man who told Mary, Janelle, and Christine that they were jealous. The same man who wept on TV that he was being punished for loving Robyn. But now, when the cameras are off and the consequences are coming down, he's blaming not himself, but the woman he worked 10 years to keep protected. This was never love. It was always power, always control, always money. Kody built a world where no one ever dared challenge him without being labeled as unfaithful. But now, the fissures are open wide, the audience understands, the wives understand, and maybe, for the very first time, so does Kody. But the question of substance here is, will he ever stop writing the story? Will he ever stop avoiding? And at last, face the reality, not only to the world, but to himself.